Alright, so I'm going to start a video about a theory that I'm calling perfect symmetry, and it revolves around the mandala, which is a symmetrical pictorial analog of the universe. And all the Abrahamic faiths believe that the universe is symmetrical, and this is something that you see in paganism as well. You even see it in Buddhist, Hindu, and Islamic temples. So David Bohm was a famous physicist, and he coined the term implicit and explicit universe, where he noted individuals are seeing through their five senses. We can see that we're moving towards something. There's something divine. We can't quite put a finger on it. Science does its best. And ultimately, the universe is in perfect order. And philosophers have argued that we are, in fact, divine as well. There's been secular philosophers and there's been religious philosophers. Mainly during the French Enlightenment, they were secular. And what one can argue is that modern day technology and David Bohm's theory was expanded to include the holographic universe, where it became obvious through science and religion that the universe was a simulation. And this is obviously seen throughout the Matrix films. And there's lots and lots of evidence for this, to the point where Neil deGrasse Tyson, another modern famous physicist, says he thinks it's a 50-50 chance that we're living in a simulation. Now, my theory, which I call perfect symmetry, also includes karma and justice. The reason being that the ancient Hindus and Jews believed in these theories. And reincarnation is within Judaism. I'll cite you Maimonides and the famous Rabbi Thoth Singer, who doesn't believe in Jesus as I do, but he expounds the fact that Jews do believe in reincarnation. They don't talk about it a lot. It's throughout the entire Old Testament, and they believe that children who die before the age of 18, I believe, are just reincarnated. They have a complete chance to do it again, their life again. And adults are reincarnated. Now, through my research into Judaism, I read a lot about their religion, how they see the world, and how Christianity has missed out so much about the context of the Old Testament, of which is only the written law, and the Talmud being the oral tradition. So within Judaism, they believe that their Messiah ben David, who is simply a descendant of King David, a military leader who's about to come into the world, he's a reincarnation of Adam and Enoch and Joseph and David, King David. That's what they believe. And obviously a secular person would say that that's just a story and they don't believe it. But perfect symmetry involves karma, numbers, justice, and I would argue everything. So this is just a short video, and I'm going to lay out some of the central tenets of it. So the holographic universe led me to understand that the 12 tribes of Israel are actual representations on the map of the real countries that they are now. So the 10 lost tribes I'm merely speaking of, obviously we know that Judah is modern day state of Israel. But the 10 lost tribes are clearly on the ancient maps, which are just the boundary lines of where the 12 tribes, the brothers, settled. And the main ones to point out are Ephraim, which is clearly Great Britain, and then Manasseh. And there's a video which has got over 1,000 views where that lays it out. I don't have many comments there, but I've got a couple of likes, and I don't think anyone's really questioned it. So it's not clear to some people who these tribes are, but you can find this very clearly online. You can go to thetrumpet.com and you can look at what Gerald Flurry says about Ephraim and Manasseh, and you can see quite clearly that there's a lot of research that Reuben is France, that Dan is Ireland, that Naphtali is Sweden, and Zebulun is Holland. And these two tribes, Manasseh and Great Britain, are very, very important to the last days, because the Ben David is to be born through Ephraim mixed in with a descendant of Judah, i.e. King David. And this is very clear in the Jewish writings, and it's even in Doctrines and Covenants 113 of the Book of Mormon. And I've spoken to some people from the Mormon faith, and they don't understand that it's right there from their own prophet, Joseph Smith. And it relates to what I'm saying, which is that there is a paradigm for everybody's life. And Jonathan Cahn lays this out very clearly in his book, seminal book, The Paradigm. Jonathan Cahn is a Messianic Jew. He believes in Jesus, but he is of the Jewish faith. And he believes that the last days of Israel, ancient Israel, relate to Manasseh being a half tribe with Ephraim, which actually are known collectively as Israel in the Bible, specifically throughout Isaiah and the prophecies of the last days. So you can see in Isaiah and throughout the entire Bible that when God is speaking of the modern day Jews, he's speaking of Judah. And when he's speaking of Israel, he's speaking specifically about Manasseh and Ephraim. And when he wants to speak specifically about Ephraim, he'll say to the isles, or Ephraim. And Manasseh, being United States of America, is also known as Gilead in the Bible. And this is referenced even in Handmaid's Tale, where USA is known as Gilead in the last days after actually an apocalyptic war. So the symmetrical nature has been said before, that there are 7 days of creation, and the millennial kingdom is the 7th day, which is also a Sabbath, a Saturday. It's a rest day for humanity to rebuild its strength and coexist with Jesus. But Clarence Larkin admits, who is a very famous dispensationalist, that created a series of pictorial representations of the Bible because he knew of its symmetrical nature. He even argues very clearly within it that the suffering servant is clearly David, and that it's very possible that he is to be the co-regent with Jesus in the millennial kingdom. Now, because of reincarnation, which I'll just put out there, you can do your research on it, the nature of karma comes into it. Now, just as a point to everyone that's laughing, right, who's secular, is that Melchizedek within the Bible had no mother, had no father, and he's clearly some sort of angel. Now, when I did my research, I did find that the Hindus and Indians believe that he is in fact Krishna. And there's a lot of Indian words within Judaism, and obviously because of Sanskrit being one of the oldest languages, and it basically worked its way into Judaism. And we know that Thomas, the Apostle Thomas, went to India, and then there's evidence that he's got some artifacts there, his bones, and there are temples there, and there's a whole Christian faith within India, within parts of it. And I did some more research, and even Adam and Eve, when they left the garden, it said that they went to a place, Suradi, which is believed to be India. Obviously, they travelled around the world, but that's one of the places they went to. Many secular people would argue that yes, numbers do come up a lot within their life, but during my research into the holographic universe and the 12 tribes, specifically the 10 lost tribes being countries, what I found was, and I'll put this in the next video to show you, that if you look at the map of Jerusalem, especially the inner parts of it, where the Golden Gate is, you'll see that that is exactly found within a few meters of where I live, near Long Eaton. Now, I've said that to be controversial, but also to prove it in my next video. You have the exact representation of it in a mini part, just a very mini representation of it, including a place where you've got the Golden Gate, which is even called a golden place. Now, it could be that the city builders knew that, and put it into parts of Long Eaton. But it's so specific because it's not actually Long Eaton, it's just a little mini part of it. But it's got everything that you need within there. You know, it's even got like the different quarters, and it's even got a place called Myrtle Street or something, which is so synchronous to the Bible, because in Isaiah we have the link to Messiah ben David being a myrtle tree, symbolic of a myrtle tree. And within the Bible there are very specific uses for trees, obviously with the Garden of Eden. But Ben Joseph is symbolic of a tree as well. He is a cypress tree. Pretty sure it's cypress tree, a fir tree, cypress tree. And if you look at where myrtle trees come from, which is what God wants you to do, you'll find that they're mainly in India. And if you look at the cypress, it's mainly in North America. And I've also found little mini parts of Israel in real cities within England. And this is new, finding cities that are holographic prints representations of like real places like Israel. But in terms of karma and symmetry, if you look at when you're born, the day you're born, you look at the events of your life and who you're going to marry and what will unfold within your life, you will find that this reveals a symmetrical pattern. When I mean symmetry, I mean that, for instance, there are patterns that repeat. So, if you have Cronus, who usurped his father Uranus, and Zeus usurped his father Cronus, what you have is that ultimately Zeus, being the main devil within the Christian Bible and Judaism, he will be usurped by his own son Apollo, and that this is a repeating pattern, and that if you have Hermes or Pan or Loki, who I believe is the literal prodigal son, as in a foreshadow, he is known as a thief in the night. Now that the Bible says that the Messiah will come like a thief in the night. It's so specific. Everyone in the ancient world would have known that's Hermes, and or Pan, and his brother, half brother, is Apollo. And in the Nordic religion, the same god, Hermes, is called Loki, and Loki wanted to be the king of Midgard or Earth, and Zeus wanted to be the king of Midgard. We see this in the Marvel films. We see this in Disney Plus's Loki. Now, what God has done is realign everything that the devil has inverted. So everything that God did, specifically in the beginning, was destroyed by Adam and Eve. And because of that, everything was inverted. So we have, obviously we know, we have the Mount Sinai, that was worshipped. That was a place where they worshipped, I think it's Moloch or Baal. That God turned that into the place where he gave most of the Ten Commandments. We have the Ark of the Covenant, and an ark was what the Egyptians used, and all the 7 plagues in ancient Israel, they were all reinversions or mocking of the gods of Israel, of ancient Egypt, and everything has been inverted and realigned, but it works in your own life. So, given enough time, as in justice, everything is put right. But similarly, justice is actually an ancient god. Where we get the word justice, there's an ancient goddess. And what we have is that you can actually figure out who you were in a previous life, or what happened in your previous life, by the things that happen in your life. And you can work out a lot by your birthday, as a lot of astrologers will know. And you can work out specifically the day you were born is very symbolic of who you will be. I mean, even Parkinson knew this, and speaking to like famous celebrities, and this is your life. It's very clear that if you interview someone, that your mother and your father and where you were born and the day you were born and where you lived add up more or less to what you're going to do in life, in your profession. But Jonathan Kahn laid out how numbers and dates are so specific to what God aligns for your life, in that the last days of Israel, ancient Israel, align exactly to how the last days, unfortunately, last days of America are going, right up to the fact that Jehu in the ancient times is an archetype paradigm of President Trump. And you can read Jonathan Cahn's book, The Paradigm, and nobody in the UK understands this. They've never heard of Jonathan Cahn. But the symbolic nature of what we're all doing, whether we be on the left, the right, good or bad, followers of Christ or not, we are all doing God's work. Excuse me. And the 7 seals, I believe, relate to Thoth, who the Egyptians called Thoth, and he was Hermes. Now, I'm not going to go into who Hermes really was in this video. I've said in other videos, there's hundreds of videos about Hermes, but every story within the Bible, as lots of people have mentioned, not just myself, is a realignment of a pagan story or a pagan myth. What most religious people would say was real. Now, because of that, the nature of your entire life is known about, even though you have free will. Because some things are in flux, some things are set. Now, to end with, I will just state how many programs know of this, but aren't really revealing this to the public, because like I say, this is for secular people, so that they understand that their life does have meaning, and that people like Russell Brand, who have converted to Christianity, and and Jordan Peterson, who is a Christian, and Joe Rogan, who's converted to Christianity. It will keep happening. People will start to convert to one of the Abrahamic faiths and just wake up, because it's incontrovertible. And very soon AI is going to be rolled out. It's already being rolled out to Facebook and art, and it's going to be there in schools and universities, and it's going to replace people's jobs, many people's jobs, and the AI is going to know straight off. If you type these things in, it will reveal it to you, if the software programs allow it to, and they won't allow you to do what they can do without restrictions. But in Disney's Loki, it's very, very clear that he is a foreshadow of Ben David and all the 7 major religions. He is that Messiah. And you even see this in The Chosen. I mean, who's a Christian that's seen The Chosen? Just about everyone. Now, in The Chosen, just randomly, we have Mary Magdalene, and she talks about Thoth in one of the episodes, Thoth being Hermes in the Egyptian pantheon. And then what we have is alluded to is Matthew. Matthew is all the time referenced as Jesus's specific chosen type within the chosen. And you have references to the moon, you have references to Matthew being special, there's something about him, also the fact that he's hated, he's a tax, because he was a tax collector, everything. I don't know whether or not Matthew is symbolic within the Christian Judaism to what they're saying, or whether it's just a vehicle for what, I think it's just a vehicle for what the writers of The Chosen are saying, which is that he is their specific archetype, as it were. And then they mention that Thoth is this, and then within Disney Plus's Loki, at the very end, we have he basically holds the universe together and the multiverse together. Now, that's because Krishna in the Hindu pantheon is Loki, and he's also Kalki, because they are all avatars of Vishnu. Now, Vishnu is the preserver of the multiverse, and that is why he is either a foreshadow of the Messiah, because the Jews say that Ben David has come here on purpose to be a scapegoat, a sacrifice, just like Jesus. Now, this I believe is in Revelation. Forgive me, which one it is. I don't have a Bible right now, which I'm going to edit in the next video, some real Bible verses. But obviously, I think it's 10 or 11, where there is what the Christians say is, and I don't know if it is Jesus, but it obviously talks about a lamb unsealing the 7 seals. Now, in a book I have about Thoth, it specifically mentions that the 7 seals are the 7 religions of the world, 7 major religions, and that at some point the Lamb, who is obviously Jesus within the Bible, unlocks this seal. the thing is that it's very, very specific within Hinduism that Kalki rides a white horse and he has a flaming sword. Now that's exactly what you see in Revelation. You have a white horse at the end with a flaming sword, and this person's riding on the clouds. Now all the Christians say that's Jesus. In fact, everything to do with the Bible, the Old and New Testament, the Christians, which I am a Christian, say is Jesus. But we just know it's not true. We know that not everything that Jesus is saying is even about himself. So Pan specifically is said to be born in a cave. This cave is the exact cave where Jesus, right next to it, where Jesus revealed himself to be God, in which is now Caesarea Philippi or Philippi. That is where he revealed himself to be God. The thief of the night, that's specifically Hermes Pan. Hermes is referenced in the Acts of Paul, but it's just alluded to because someone is just named Hermes, even though it's not really his real name. But Hermes is specifically in the Bible. I have a 1611 Bible, the original, the anniversary edition, with an essay in it, of which it alludes to Pan in it, within the I think it's the Wisdom of Solomon. So that's in a academic reference, and there are just references all over. So Jesus says, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. Now, I've only just looked into this myself because I knew that Dev Patel, British Indian, was going to be in Monkey Man, which is a reference to the Monkey King in China, which is Loki, again Hermes. There was a book, A Journey to the West, which is where Loki goes from India to China, and there's all the tales about him. And in that book, and within the tales of the Monkey Man, the Monkey King, of which there's an old 80s film, a very strange, bizarre one, where you see Monkey, and he could move a mountain, specifically. It sounds incredible to say, but obviously these ancient gods, they did incredible things like turn into bulls, and kind of like Europa, chased a woman who was like turned into a cow, which is where we get Europe from, and turn into all sorts of animals and transform things. So that is, I think, Jesus speaking of Hermes again, because he did what he did, I think, by eating a golden peach. And he is the prodigal son, as far as I'm aware, in all modern literature, within songs like The Water Boys, Hall of the Moon, and within Loki, within Superman, Incredible Hulk, within Harry Potter. Yes. And Dark Side of the Moon. We have reference to Pan and Doctor Who. Wherever you see the rainbow, this is about Pan. The rainbow is about Pan, and it's also about Venus. Pan had winged heels, sandals, and he was Jack Flash. Even the Union Jack is named after Hermes, and it all relates to, in a very simple way, the symmetrical nature of the universe within our life, how it unfolds, karma being how the fates have aligned our life to serve a purpose. And it's so specific that you can actually predict things using this theory within your own life. Right down to where you're going to live and things. But I'll put this in another video, so thanks.